I thought my mom and my dad owns a restaurant, so when it came to the culinary school, I thought I know everything, man. But I was lost. I don't even know there's a nice card, there's mise en place, all these terms, the things that I need to learn. In Rumah Makan Minang, we display about 43 dishes every morning. The shop open at 9. Everything must be complete. So we don't cook in 1 hour. We have to cook in at least 4 to 5 hours. So we have to wake up at 3 a.m. in the morning. It takes hard work, to cook. And when I try to say expensive, people start to complain. Hey, how come expensive? I can eat that. My mom also cooks at home. I hope, whoever listens to this podcast, now then you will understand what's the real Nasi Padang. And I hope this story be spreading to appreciate the real Nasi Padang food.
Welcome to Before We Get There, the podcast where we explore people's journeys, how they got to where they are, what keeps them pushing forward, and where they eventually want to get to. I'm your host, Nicholas Braman, and today I'm joined by Ariff Zin. Ariff is the head chef at Rumah Makan Minang, one of the oldest Nasi Padang restaurants in Singapore. We talked about growing up in a family restaurant, how he pivoted from other studies to embrace life in the kitchen, how he learned to run a professional kitchen at the Culinary Institute of America and during internships and staging in New York, how he's modernized his family's restaurants, and much more. Enjoy the show. Thanks so much for joining me today.
Hey, man. Good.
I'm really happy to have you here with me. And where I thought we'd start is because since I am originally not from Singapore, but I've been here now for 10 years, and one of my absolute favorite cuisines is Nasi Padang. Anytime I can find a Nasi Padang stall in any of the food court or hawker center I go to, that's what I'll choose over all the other options. So maybe to start with, let's talk about some of your favorite dishes. And an easy question is, do you still eat this kind of food in your personal life, or because you're cooking it at the restaurant all the time, then you like to have other stuff as well?
To be honest, if I travel, I miss my food. But if I'm still in Singapore, I don't eat as much as people thought of. But because every day I have to do food tasting at the restaurants, so sometimes I just feel like eating another cuisine food rather than Nasi Padang. But it's a comfort food. Like, I do love rice. I love rice so much. And if in my restaurants, the famous dish is beef rendang. And that's not my favorite dish at all. So yeah, that's fun fact about it. I cook that every day at home.
Yeah, that's really cool. So maybe let's start at the beginning. You grew up in a restaurant family, right? And you've been around this kind of business and around food all of your life. Was it just a normal thing for you since that's what your family did? Or after a while, did you get more interested in food than when at a certain?
Okay, so I grew up in a restaurant itself. I remember those were the days that my mom used to run a restaurant below, and we sleep on the second floor. It was directly at the flagship restaurant called at the Kandahar Street there. So what happened was, I grew up, and at that area, we were forced to help out, like carry plate, wash dishes, and back then it was like 5, 6 years old. It's so weird to see 5, 6 years old to carry plates now in a restaurant, but we used to do that big kampong, and everybody's involved, and there will be family here, my mom's side, my dad's side. Our family time, most of it in the restaurant itself. So we don't travel much back then. And when we were forced to move out from the place, is because I think shop houses, you can't stay on top where you serve the restaurant. So we moved to the HDB, and every Sunday and Saturday we will go down to the restaurant to help out. So initially it was just a help out thing. And then, it's when I grew up in a normal neighborhood. So we do have friends, and we go to the normal school, the secular school, neighborhood school. Yeah, we studied. I took my O-level and went to poly. It wasn't in culinary at all. It was in engineering, actually. But when I was doing my when I was doing my national service, I had a hard time, like whether should I continue doing the engineering or help out the family business, or probably continue venture out into traveling So after I tried applied the Culinary Institute of America like 3 times when I was in NS. It was rejected twice, and then finally they accepted me. And then they called me up for interview, and then I told them about my stories. I have no culinary background, but my parents owns a restaurant, and I shared them in how I live as a family who runs a restaurant, and they accept me. And it was surprised. It was only 40 students selected a year, and they give us a limited space. So I was the last 40. And then when I got accepted, I started to put all my engineering, traveling aside to continue to pursue my culinary, bachelor in culinary. I wasn't involved with culinary at all. I love to watch culinary show. Well, back then there was a Jamie Oliver, there was Anthony Bourdain, he became Gordon Ramsay. And after I went to the culinary school, it was so different. Whatever I watch and whatever I'm doing, I don't like it. So I prefer watching rather than doing it. And culinary was really intense. I didn't know it was how to say it's like it's. I would say worse than national service. You have to have everything white, chef apron, toque, neckerchief, all white. You cannot have a bit of stain, and then your fingernails have to be like clean, and everything is disciplined. Your time, you can't be late to school. You cannot be at work. You're the first person to enter kitchen. You'll be the last person to leave the kitchen. And you have to learn everything like math, science, history, because everything got to do with food. Like maths is all about food cost, the science behind every food. There's preservative or the how from farm to table. And then history, where does this ingredient come from? The history behind all these ingredients. So it was really tense. And actual course took 4 years to have a bachelor in fine art degree. But in Singapore, because it's a local U, we collab with the Singapore Institute of Technology. So it compromised us for 2 years. And it was like day and night, man. Like I was going back to the boot camp after NS, another camp. Yeah, that's about it. Because like you said, is there anything that got to do with culinary when I grew up? Yeah, I grew up in a restaurant. So seeing things on a like the deep plate is like a natural to pick up and put it in a dishwasher and then to the dishwasher.
Wow, that sounds super intense. So you mentioned like helping out around the restaurant, but were you doing any actual cooking before you went to culinary school, or more of the other types of things that needed to be done?
Before culinary school, we already trained to do all that. For example, when I took my diploma in engineering, so a lot of my friends on the weekend, they have a project base or they meet up, but I couldn't help. I couldn't join them. I had to help out my family in terms of helping out in catering business. So we do have catering. Yeah, when I was in secondary school and primary school, I involved with my friends. Like back then, manpower wasn't an issue as now. I used to call my friend, like, hey, you guys want to work like 1 hour, $5, and they were accepting enough. They just stare at plates and follow me around, and it became like a family business. So they brought their family, they are not shy, to work at my family restaurant. And then after the everyone grew up, so nobody keen to go to FMB. Not my friend are FMB, most of them that used to be close to me. So we grew apart. So most of them are achieved, like some of them are engineers, some of them are doing good, like high flies. And me, I have a degree in that culinary is a cheap labor. We work hard, and it depends on which restaurant you go, or maybe you own a restaurant. It doesn't mean you own everything. Sometimes you need to have an investor to be part of your business. It's a really a disciplined career, I would say.
Yeah, for sure. I worked in F&B when I was doing my university short order cook at a diner, like American style diner for burgers and hash browns and omelets and that sort of stuff, and waited tables and did some bartending. And sometimes I miss it, but it's definitely not easy. So when you went to the Culinary Institute of America, I think it's probably a lot of the things that you are learning and the things that you are cooking were quite a bit different from the cuisine that your restaurant does. So what was that like?
Oh, this is a great story to share because I thought my mom and my dad owns a restaurant. So when it came to the culinary school, I thought I know everything, man. But I was lost. I was totally, I don't even know there's a nice card, there's mise en place, all these terms, the things that I need to learn, and then the pronunciation, because in Singapore we call it flour, but in America they call it flour. So I was like, what? Putting dish in a flour? Then I'm so confused. And then most of my cuisine that I learned is world cuisine, but they will emphasize in French cuisine. A lot of French language need to be used, and then a lot of coding, such as like solar, they call it EDC. We have fire. It means you have to do that. Like in my family restaurant, we don't call it fire. We just say, hey, cook some more, typical. In the Malay, like masak lagi in a restaurant with fire meat, fire fish, all these things. So beef and cleaning was, they emphasize cleaning so much. Every single thing that your table have to be clean. And then you have quotes such as, if you have time to lean, you have time to clean. Like these are the words that are, it's on my mind now. When we ordered, I remember like going to the market with my dad. My dad trusts so much with the supplier. Just okay, I take one basket. In culinary school, we do have to check one by one, like the fish, the eye, gill, every single thing, and then the produce. We need to know where does it come from. And I didn't know there's so much people who have a different type of like vegetarian, vegan. There's so many things, I feel like there's a lot of nutrition that I need to learn in culinary school. It was really eye opening. And then I remember my knife. I thought just use knife and cutting onion and that's it. No, you have a specific like a julienne. You have pentonnet. All these cuts that the French do it. So I was like 1 month at culinary school. I feel like it was a boot camp. I feel like quitting, to be honest with you. And then I met my dean of the school. I told her like, chef, I don't feel like going through this. Like I have to do all that, and then I have to go home. I have to do some research thesis, complete some history book. So all these things done that when he told me, chef, they call me like name also. Don't need to worry about all this. This is one of the journey that you have to go through. Remember, most of the thing that you need to learn, you will be remembered. For example, like when I talk to people on a table, especially food gathers everybody, right? So I can just create a topic about one food that on the table, and it can tell about the history, the ingredient behind it. So it became like a natural thing to me. And I have to be honest with you, I'm not a good chef. Like you come to my restaurant, I can cook everything. I'm not even at home. I don't even cook for my family. A chef, I remember the chef meaning is boss in French. So one of my professor was telling me, being a good chef or being a good cook. So you're in this school, you are not just being a good cook, you have to be a chef. So for example, I love my mom cook, but she's a chef. She's just a good cook. For example, she good fried rice, she good everything. But when it comes to organizing the kitchen, organizing the schedule of people, produce everything, they lost, man. They don't know much. So being in my position as a chef, I have to know every single thing, from the produce all the way to the customer. You just imagine if anything happened to the customer, if they have diarrhea because of my food, that's part of my job scope, to make sure that everything is settled and everything is okay. And if the supplier gives like bad food, I have to go down. In between those two, I have to go through staffing, I have to go through accounts, I have to do marketing. So it's like, I think this culinary school taught me like amazing journey. Just you have to, we learn world cuisine. I know how to cook African cuisine, China cuisine. We learn everything. There's even bring chef from all over the world to teach us. At the end of the day, when I came to my family business, I feel like I want to focus on my cuisine. Like this is what I want to do. So I want to see how can I change from Nasi Padang, old version, to the modern version. Yeah, I think you may ask me a lot of questions on that too, right?
Yeah, I think we'll dig into that later, definitely. But it sounds like a lot of what you learned was about the business of running a restaurant, and not just about the techniques around the food itself. And you went to New York to go to school, or was it the Singapore campus?
We call it the CIA in Culinary Institute of America students. We were, that's one module that you have to do internship. And we had to choose whether we want to do internship in the country or externship, which is overseas. Back then in my family restaurant, I know restaurants, it's something that I really want to learn, but actually want to learn more about catering side because I believe that catering can. I love high volume cooking rather than being fine dining. This sort kind of my forte. I'm more to the big boys. We just throw everything dump and then we cook. We see how can we do more on manufacturing or probably on the catering business. So I had the opportunity to choose which country that I had to work with. So I went to New York. I chose New York. The reason why it's almost similar as Singapore. It's like a city. I can learn a lot of things. And then I remember I started working extended internship in this catering company called Peter Callahan. So what he does, he did a lot of big events such as Nickelodeon and a lot of music award, JP Morgan, the banks, the corporate. So yeah, I was there in New York minimum wage. So I was the guy came back from after my internship, come back to Singapore with with a lot of cash because in catering they had to pay us more. We had to travel. So from New York to Vermont is about 8 hours. So while I have events at Vermont, they even pay me per hour while I'm going there. Just meaning 8 hours with sitting in a bus, then you are paying us. So I enjoyed traveling, doing catering with them, and I did a lot of SOPs workflow that I learned. And of course, on a weekend when I have time, I did some staging. I guess not many people know what staging. Staging means you go to people restaurant and work for free. So you just bring your knife set, go behind the door like, hey chef, can I come in and can I starch? So they were like, okay, can, but you're not gonna pay us. They just pay us with our staff meal. So that is the in thing then. So I don't see now, like not many people are using that. And I love doing staging because as a dishwasher, our first job, you're like, so what are you gonna do? What are you good at? So I will say I'm a good at dishwashing. So they will put us. So while I do dishwashing, I learn the system. We can see a lot of chefs are doing. So when you're focusing on your dishwasher, but you actually look and study how other restaurants are doing it. And most of the Michelin star restaurant that I work as touch, but I'm never permanently with them. New York was the base that I thought that I can bring the concept back to Singapore to build up the family business, which is indeed I tried because one of the dish that I created after I came back was the Padang burrito. Padang burrito is like Nasi Padang inside the burrito. Why it's burrito? Because when I was in New York, most of my friends are Mexican and from Puerto Rico. They thought I'm one of them because we had the same skin color. So they call me like, yo, amigo, all that. Then after that, it was Hari, it was Idul Adha. It was a Muslim festival. So I had the chance to cook rendang at my kitchen in New York. And then after that, I told them like, hey, if I combine this and this, will you guys want to try? Then they eat it, and then they approve it, bro. Like to me, wow, that's a blessing. They said like, you should do it in your country. So I was like telling them, yeah, I'm coming back and try to do this. We use the beef rendang that I cooked there. There's a burrito, with tortilla, and then after that, I add on pico de gallo, and then I convert it to like achar. It's the vinegar. It's almost in like good guy, but it's a more intense flavor. And then I put some gulai, which is they use mole sauce. I use the gulai sauce, and then I roll it with rice. They use it arborio rice. So it's a lot of things that I tried to make. But of course, when you came back with that dish and thing on your family business, it's a no because they told me like things are not broken, then don't make it, don't break the dish. And I put that on my event, which is it was it was COVID period. I joined the Singapore Food Festival. It was online. It was one of the best selling item on that year.
Wow, awesome. That's so. I think we covered a lot in that section, but I want to go back to your experience in New York, your internship and staging. How was it? Since, like we've been talking about, you've been in a restaurant your whole life, but experiencing so many other restaurants and the catering business during that time. What were some big differences you noticed, or was it hard for you to adjust?
The thing that when I tried to change the family business, toughest was the people because of the culture that they have in the kitchen. So I remember when I used to work in a lot of restaurants, part time or for seconds. I have to be honest, most of them are abusive, brutal. I can say word of racism also. But when I came to my family business, I was immune with all that. It was a regimental for me, right? So I started to become rough with these stuff. And you just imagine the people who cook Nasi Padang, all these old lady, makcik, they don't know about the cooking style. And then this lot of, they don't know about culinary. They just come work, prep, go home, when they have accent, they sleep, that kind of thing, repeat every day. So the environment was really challenging for me and also the family too. And when I start to become more aggressive in my family business, I think they didn't accept me. They feel like I'm here to change the culture, being rude. In my culture, it's more on being nice. Everything is all about being how to say it, you have the way of doing it. But then I started to realize that when I get that fight from them, I have to like tone down myself and I see their way they work very slow in terms of the business progression. They don't have hierarchy. Everybody work as a family. So the challenging part also is to segregate them into hierarchy system, like calling my mom and dad boss, educate the staff calling them boss. Because they used to call him uncle, auntie, father, mother, that kind of thing. So I tell my siblings and even my staff, call them boss. Even call me chef, call me all these names. So we have our department. So I segregate my brother to operation manager, my sister to the finance team, and then my elder brother became the business direction of the company, and then me myself as a chef. And then under us there will be sous chef, there will be a lot of things. And then so all these hierarchy system I created in my family business, and you cannot accept. First of all, they say like, why are we like this? Why it starts became politics? So people are talking about their department, and people are talking. They don't accept that. Then time to time, I have to push them keep on pushing them. Like we have to do this. If not, then we cannot employ the right people. We employ people such as from they just want to work. I want to find the right people. If you want to come to my company work as a chef, make sure you have a bit of background as a chef. If you don't know that work for me for free first, and then I look the way how you can run things, I can teach you, then we come. So all that thing that I created, and then I remember that cooking Nasi Padang at 3 a.m. in the morning. You just imagine if you go to a Nasi Padang shop, and the hawker, 8 or 9, the food display at 40, like a lot of dishes. Same in Rumah Makan Minang. We display about 43 dishes every morning. The shop open at 9. Everything must be complete. So we don't cook in 1 hour. We have to cook in at least 4 to 5 hours. So we have to wake up at 3 a.m. in the morning. So I remember when I got home, and I didn't even go home and actually sleep in a restaurant. Wake up, I continue cooking together with them. I sleep with, no, it repeat that one whole month with them. They go home, they look at me like, hey, this guy is serious. He's not here to tell us that he's the son of boss, like trying to tell us what to do. This guy is serious. What he say and what he do is involve us. Then you start to listen to me. And then I start to realize that, okay, to be part of them, I have to be like them. I remember that I used to have my own saving. I brought them to eat stuffed meal, and I go out to eat really good food. They never had that. They were like, oh, what's this? What's that? They don't even know. No, so they just cook. So when they start to expose themselves, they start to believe in me. And then slowly I start to realize that actually there are people behind me to back me up.
So, yeah, I think that's super interesting. And it sounds, do you feel like those practices you brought back and the lessons you learned from CIA about the processes and the hierarchy, were they necessary for the restaurant to grow to the next level? Because you've had a lot of successes working with Singapore Airlines, Shangri-La Hotel, and getting the brand and the business bigger. Were those kind of like painful but tough things to get done critical to being able to grow the business?
Yeah. I would say the achievement that I had was the vacuum packaging, frozen pack. It was done before COVID. I started to do vacuum pack, and then I got condemned by the family. No, you don't do vacuum pack. People don't eat in a plastic. People don't understand. And it's expensive. You keep buying plastic and vacuum and keep it in storage. So suddenly, COVID came. That business was booming. Like my vacuum pack was people asking like, hey, can you send to this house? I have friends who are doing Grab, so I asked them to send over. In fact, it was Hari Raya. So we keep moving that business. So it really takes time to tell them and to show them this thing works. For example, you mentioned to me, does it work? That the knowledge that I brought back 100% works. For example, We have to wake up at 3 a.m. in the morning to cook Nasi Padang just to serve you, the customer, at 9:30 a.m. for 44 dishes. Today, it takes me 1 hour just to cook everything. The technology that I use, the science behind every single thing, with with the support my team really want to change with me. So I had a new outlet. It just opened a week ago, and it's at Jurong, and my central kitchen is at Bedok, so it's far. Mm, They don't understand like how food come from the kitchen, cook everything fresh to the outlet. It's not, to be honest, because fresh food have to cook, and then you have 4 hours to consume. You just imagine all the Nasi Padang restaurant, you only can have one or two, and then you have to hire more chef at every outlet. So what I did, the process when I learned in school, when I learned in the experience I had, so all my food are 80% done. So what happened to the 20%? It's all about finishing.
Yeah, that's really cool. And it's great that you've seen the shift happen and been able to make it happen, and opening a new outlet is great news. I wanted to talk to you also about how you feel about cooking these very traditional dishes, which have been cooked for many, even your own family cooking for 80 plus years, versus maybe some of what you experienced at the Michelin star restaurants you mentioned in New York, or even in culinary school, of very fine dining, experimental, coming up with fresh and new ideas, putting things together. As a chef and as somebody who enjoys food, how do you view that? Like a very traditional dish that everybody's grandma cooked and you're trying to make the best version of it, versus being fresh and experimental with new ways to cook things, putting new flavors together and that sort of thing.
I think when you come back to the traditional food, for example, the Minangkabau food, I don't come to the family business and know what to do. To be honest, I did spend some time to travel to understand my own culture. And then I had to speak to my mom, to the older chef. For example, my auntie, and my uncles are all chefs too. Like they own their own restaurant. I came and then I asked them how do you, a simple fish such as in Singapore we have sala. Like sala fish is like a normal typical fish that everybody's using. So I told them like, can we use another fish rather than this fish? A simple product. But they told me it's a fish that is good is because it retains the skin and also the meat itself when you barbecue. But when I went to culinary school or probably in a fine restaurant, they use this oily fish is because oily fish give you more intensity of meaty flavors. These are the things that they don't actually look into it, but I look into it. For example, I keep changing. Can I use potato such as russet potato rather than the Indonesian raw potato to make my bergedil, the mashed potato? And I tried out. You can't make that because russet pepper will give you good mashed potato, but not a bergedil flavor. So my potato must come from the Asian potato, from China or Vietnam, or probably best is from Indonesia. So all this traditional food, it may sound so easy and people think it's a comfort food and everywhere you can get, but it's actually the most underappreciated food. Like for example, Nasi Padang. If you go to the real Nasi Padang restaurant or probably a food, you wouldn't see a hot dog, a processed food, a nugget sausage with sambal. No, we don't serve that in our restaurant. It's different. If you talk about Nasi Padang in hawker center nowadays, people are selling Nasi Padang. And the owner probably not even Singaporeans from China, they cook long beans. We don't serve long beans. We serve fruit. When nowadays people talk jackfruit is the impossible burger, but we serve jackfruit thousands of 100 years ago. Jackfruit was our staple food, no? And then people miscom about having economic rice in Nasi Padang. They started to compare. When I was in the restaurant, the auntie was telling me, hey, how come your chicken so expensive? Ask them sell $3 only chicken curry. I told the auntie, we are not chicken curry. We are Indonesian flavor, chicken braising in coconut cream. And on top of that, we have our turmeric spice include. To them, they don't even understand. To them, it looks big, looks the same. To them, it's the same. In Malay, we have nasi campur. It's not even nasi padang, it's nasi campur. Nasi padang derived from a place called Minang. Minang is a cultured area in Sumatra. So that was my ancestor village. So Minangkabau is meaning is winning buffalo. That's why the Minang there's a horn that represent the buffalo horn. And people think that Padang is a field. No, it's a place actually. So we have story to tell. So people miscom what's Padang, but actually Padang is an Indonesian. So I have to take pride of it. So I remember I have like my classmate culinary was like there's 40 of them. So we had a debate in terms of nasi padang in hawker or probably they don't even know my family is just a normal nasi padang. So I brought all of them, 40 of them, and I called my dad that I need your help. Can you like research for me 40 and then can you pay for it? Say what? 40 people you want to pay? Hey, please, I need to educate them. So I told my dad, please, I will help you, I will work for you without asking for money. Then my dad agreed. So I dined. I let them eat at Minang. I remember you went there, the second level. I set up 40 seats. I served them. They don't even need to go down and queue. I serve them. That's how we're supposed to serve. That's why we call it Rumah Makan Minang, the house of Minang, house. So you come to my house, I serve you. Don't ask anything. So I serve them. And guess, there's no fork and spoon. I tell them, you go and wet, use your hand to eat. I ask them to wash their hand. And they were telling me that this is a different level of nasi padang that we thought of. I'm like, told you, this is the real nasi padang. You don't compare me with the hawker, man. Like literally, we are the real, we are the origins who bring this. My family brought nasi padang. They are the door. There's a few people was the one who brought nasi padang to Singapore, which is Sabah Melanti. Rumah Makan Minang wasn't because we had a sister restaurant. Sabah Melanti is my grandma. And then Pariama and the beach road there. Hajar Maimuna back then. Now they are they are selling most. Behind the craft, there's a bit misconception in terms of nasi padang. That's why I try to educate people what is the real nasi padang. And it's tough. It's really tough because people try to compare and people don't appreciate. You buy a steak, 350-gram steak, it's just searing the salt and black pepper. And you compare to my beef rendang, 150 gram, marinate, cook 6 hours with hard charcoal, and I'm selling it at $5, and that steak selling at $15 or probably $27. It's not fair, man. To me, we take hard work and to cook. And when I try to sell expensive, people start to complain. Hey, how come expensive? I can eat that. My mom also cook at home. That's the thing that I'm trying to understand. Though, I hope whoever listen to this podcast now, then you will understand what's the real nasi padang. And I hope this story be spreading to appreciate the real nasi padang food.
Yeah, I thank you for sharing, and it's good that you're helping more people appreciate. But I also, just that example you just mentioned about the steak versus the rendang and how much effort and work that goes into it. I think it's similar in a lot of cases for a lot of the traditional foods that you see around Singapore, whether it's chicken rice, but maybe it used to cost $3 and now it costs $5 and people are shocked or think it's too expensive. So I think it's a big challenge for all kinds of F&B businesses that are trying to do things the traditional way, trying to do things by hand and not mass produced. But then people are more willing to pay for maybe pizza or steak or something that is not a traditional food to Singapore. It's seen as more valuable than these type of heritage foods. So actually earlier you were mentioning some celebrity chefs. I'm also a huge Anthony Bourdain fan. I did want to ask you, who is your favorite celebrity chef?
Still Anthony Bourdain, bro. It was so sad that I heard that he was on suicide, and it was a story that he came to my grandmother's restaurant. I have his signature, I have his photo eating in my grandma's restaurant, and I think 10 years ago. And then a few years ago, when I was in CIA, he came twice to my grandma's restaurant again. And then a few months later, he committed suicide. That's the reason why I feel that I love his books, or talking about the real kitchen, he's like being honest, like what we face in life as chef. And then he shared the world that you guys should travel to taste other people's food. He sat down in Hanoi eating with Obama. Oh, it's very humble to see all that. He's not even, he can go up to the real fine dining or royalty food all the way to street vendor. So he's inspired me. If you ask me, he do inspire me.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's why he resonated with so many people, because he not only connected to the
Amen.
people who are actually working in the restaurant industry and are the chefs and cooks, but also introducing so many other people to different cuisines and locations around the world is definitely a very missed person. That I just thought of an interesting question, because you're mentioning your family business and your parents. For your kids in the future, would you want them to go into the restaurant industry as well?
Okay, my kid, I have two boys, 6 and 3 years old. Whenever I have work to do, so they will sometimes they come and follow me to work, and naturally they will want to work. So I was like helping. I was in a restaurant to do to meet some people, and then he saw me carry plates and then things like that. They were involved, and every time I go home, he will like asking me like, "Father, can I follow you to work?" I didn't know he was too young when my son like to experiment, so I can see he likes to involve in kitchen too. He start to play around in the kitchen things. But I have to be honest with you, I would not want them to be in kitchen, to be honest, because it's a rough journey. It's a rough journey. You don't even eat good food. You serve people good food, but end up you eat Maggie everywhere, and you'll be stressed with pressure, and people don't pay you much, and you have to be very strong, mentally strong. So if you ask me whether would I want them to be part of being in the kitchen, it's really depend on them, because I wouldn't force them.
Yeah, I'm sure it's a lot different for them than when you were a kid growing up in a restaurant, it sounds. So I just have one last question that I'd like to ask all my guests, and I think I may get a hint of what your answer is from some of the things you've shared. But if I talk to you again in 5 years, what would you like to be able to tell me that has happened since then that would make you feel successful?
5 years ahead, or that's what they say. You keep your success in silence, grow, and you can. But I will share, because to me, my success come from even from my customer, people like you buying Nasi Padang for me. You guys are my boss, man. We don't have boss in my company. You guys are my boss. You guys pay our salary. Of course, 5 years, I want to retain the quality of the food is what you eat 5 years today until the next 5 years. And of course, I have big plans. So currently, I open Jurong, which is automated cooking there without any chef. Yeah, anyone can cook. Dummy can cook. So I'm renovating the one in the east, which is I'm currently right now, because it's a big abandoned right now. We are waiting for approval for renovation. And then we're going to Kandahar to renovate again. So if you Google, or probably you go to our website, minang.sg, or IG, you can see we revamped the whole restaurant into very traditional with the Indonesian music, with Indonesian food. So Minang used to be like a minimal kind of concept, like we can make it a Minang Nasi Padang modern. But now after COVID, we realized that we have time, we have the money, so we want to renovate to the traditional back. So it makes like a completely different house here, aesthetic of the image of Minang. And then my plan is to at least have 5 restaurants in Singapore, which cover the north, south, east, west, and central. And we're not going to blast more, because I feel like the more you go, it will be more commercialized. And then, to be honest, I want to retire to have good time with family. I don't know how it is, because nowadays the economy is crazy, the inflation as well. So we see how. Probably travel more after that. Right? That will be the Minang vision for now. But of course, we're not sure. God has better plan for us. So along the way, things might change. At the end of the day, keep on going.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. And we'll put all of the links in the show notes for people. I definitely highly recommend you go down and eat. The food is amazing. So it was great to talk to you today. Thank you so much for joining. And I'll talk to you again soon, and hopefully eat some of your food again soon.
Thank you, bro.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, man. Like having me to your podcast, right? Like to be honest, this is my first podcast. A lot of people asking me, but I didn't. Man, I think I have to start somewhere. Yeah, you're the first podcast that I've been interviewed.
Yeah, great. It was great having you.
Thank you, bro. And please do come to the restaurant. I really want you to have a good food, especially in the new outlet, which is in Jurong. If you just text me up and we can sit down and enjoy good food.
Awesome. Okay, thanks again. Thank you for listening to Before We Get There with your host, Nicholas Braman. Please like and subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast platforms like Spotify and Apple Podcasts. You can also find us on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook at Before We Get There Podcast. New episodes are released every other Thursday morning. See you next time.